OMD on Dan RadioStyle. OMD, of course, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. That was Seven Seas. Sailing the Seven Seas is what that was. Another great song. Back actually from the same person that got me into Depeche Mode, ironically. Great time in my life and a relationship I totally screwed up awesomely. But oddly, I was just thinking about this before I started the show. I was like, that was like a fork in the road in my life. That was literally the point where it was because of that I went down my spiritual path that I went down. It was, I just don't want to, it's a whole show into it. So it's just funny. I chose a path in life, and that was truly when everything really, really, really started. It was kind of funny how that played out. Anywho, converse with your higher self, some good techniques, a couple ideas, really important concept that I want to share with you. Not the whole of talking to your higher self. I brought that up a bunch, but an aspect of that as far as trying to do this and practicing. First off, practice I recommend. I just don't think a lot of you right off the bat. Well, I take that back. Everyone's in different varying stages. So for those of you that have done it for a lot, you know who you are. And for those of you that haven't really ever done this, all right, just practice. Practice is going to be a part of this. And then for those of you that are in the middle, got some good stuff. That's probably going to help out with that whole scenario. So again, working with our higher selves. A lot of times, we want to talk to the other person's higher self. That's great. That's fantastic. You can say whatever you'd like, and they're listening, and they will hear you. And their conscious self may hear some of it, may not, whatever the case is, but you know for sure the higher self is. That's a guarantee. I promise that. I really, truly do. That's actually a promise because I know they hear you. It's so different in the higher dimensions. It's just guarantee you. But when it comes to talking to our higher selves, that's actually fantastic because this is truly one of the things that kind of leads into that one, looking inward, which I think is very important. Two, once you start talking to your higher self, it's not a lot different to talk to like your master teacher or talking to people that have passed. So again, don't want to get crazy, right? Talking to higher self, it's still a higher dimensional issue. And really in all the cases, that's the same difference. So there's energies that are sometimes not exactly, they're here right now, but you can't see them. We're going to do a show on it. I'll try to explain that someday with the higher self, when the consciousness and dimensions and densities and how all these things play together and how there's all sorts of good stuff going on. God, another good show, right? There's fork number 2 just for me in this show. So some great techniques that I want to share with you. We'll try to keep this on the shorter side that definitely will help you talk to your higher self, help you communicate to your higher self. Now, one of the things that I want to say is the caveat, and this is really important, and this is for all the people in the middle. This is the part you want to pay attention to, and for everyone else, certainly yes, as well. But one of the most important things to realize is when you're truly talking to your higher self, when you really finally have practiced it a few times and gotten to the point where you're like, yeah, I'm doing this, you will find that you're creating a connection. It's kind of like channeling. It's actually the same thing as channeling. It's identical as channeling. And one of the things that happens when you do this process is you essentially consciously are not really present. It's weird how it works. I don't know where the conscious self goes, frankly, because he's not conscious. I don't know where he goes. But it's an interesting process, and you will say things, you will hear yourself say it, you're part of it, you're here. It's not like you're not here, you're very aware of it, but it's such a right now moment where you are, like the second you start thinking about it, you break the channel. So you're just, it's flowing through you. It's kind of what like meditation is sort of with thoughts. You let them flow through. So when you're doing this, if you're trying to do it without any sort of recording mechanism, it can become very tricky to remember. I'm guilty of this frequently myself. I'm always hoping my higher self or higher conscious part of myself is like, all right, well that did something, or even maybe my subconscious, right? Maybe it was like a message to him. That's what I keep telling myself, frankly, because it's like, crap, I got to start recording this stuff. This is killing me. I have so much awesome stuff that comes out of my face sometimes, and I'm like, paper, right? And I'm like, I've got these pieces of paper all over the damn place. It's like, if I don't remember quickly and start thinking about it, I'll lose it. It's gone. Seconds and seconds. It's like a dream. It's like waking up from a dream. It's exactly the same thing. Good job, Dan. Ouch. When you wake up from a dream, if you don't write it down immediately, you don't remember, right? You start trying to tell whoever's there, you're like, so I was like in strawberry fields and then like this big whipped cream what? I don't remember. And so if you don't get it out immediately, it's gone. And it's this part of your brain. I could try to do some research to figure out what aspects of the brain, but it's super important to remember when you really get good at this, you won't remember what you said. And I do this a lot. So, a couple options exist, and they're very easy to do. It's good practices, and it's a lot of fun, believe it or not, because when you go to check out what happened afterwards, you're like, that is actually good advice. Like, it's very, very fun. So I record myself, and there's so many different recording mechanisms to do. So talk, you got a cell phone, or you got a hand recorder, some sort of something, microphone on a computer, whatever you want to do. Record yourself having the conversation. Ask your higher self a question consciously, like yourself, like, dear higher self. You don't have to say it that way, but it's like, higher self, like, why is it that like I get so frustrated for no reason at all? And then start talking. Just start answering your own question, if you will, into the thing, and just talk. And this might be harder for some people. So the other technique I'm going to share next is easier for most. This, for me, works because this is how I stream of consciousness. It's very easy for me. I'm like this when I've done improv. It's just when I get myself on it's cool when I can do it. There's times where I can hear my teacher just going, dude, Dan, come on, you're not letting go. You're pre-planning. You're right. So it's one of those things where if I can just flow and let it go, well, I get to watch the YouTubes later. So then I'm like, oh, that's what I said. Oh, that's interesting. I have no idea where some of this stuff comes from. But again, it's stream of consciousness. It's me basically doing what I auto-talk, right? So that's exactly how we can talk to our higher selves. It's the same kind of concept. And you just start talking. And then eventually you've answered the question. You kind of hear yourself doing it. Don't get me wrong. But if you ever go, but what about, and then all of a sudden you kind of break it all up. So if you want to interrupt, you, of course, ask questions and then just start talking the answer. But again, understand that you're doing both sides of it, but it starts to get easier and easier as you practice, and you will start to find that some of the things you say, one, totally makes sense, two, resonate with yourself, three, kind of work for who you are internally. Like, it's good advice for you, from you to you. And when you're actually looking inward, that's pretty awesome. So it's an aspect that was given to us by higher self, higher power, higher source, whatever. It's where we get this aspect from. Now, the other way that you can do this that's very easy for a lot of people, and I do this sometimes too, it's just not my go-to, but for I think a lot of people, this definitely will work out, is auto writing. Break out a notepad, a journal, whatever. Journals are great. People are like, I'm journaling. It's pretty much the same thing. When you're journaling, if you're actually doing it from a higher self, like, here, dear self, and you just start like a diary, right? Like, you just start writing stuff out. Well, all of a sudden, that starts to become kind of that whole just free form, that whole, that stream of consciousness via a pen, though albeit slightly slower, but still, right? And it's therapeutic. It's kind of like with me. I love pencils. Like, I love pencil. It's weird. It's odd, right? Pens are great. I have a pen right here. But at work, I have a pencil, and just every once in a while, it's just the feeling of writing with a pencil. I don't know what it is. It goes back to school. If it goes back to all the science and math and all that crap where everything was in pencil, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but it's just something about, for me, a pencil, right? So again, writing has that certain feel. So ask yourself the question, blah, 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 blah. And if anyone's read Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God, certainly book 1, it starts with, this is how he began his entire Conversations with God set of books, and guy's doing speaking tours now, and he's like, whatever. It's just awesome, right? Very cool stuff. If you haven't read it, I do have links below. I know for some of Neil Donald Walsh's stuff, he was someone that was hugely important in my whole progress, but a lot of these other authors that people talk about frequently are awesome too. So whatever you're comfortable with, is what I'm referring to. But this is what he did. He wrote in a yellow legal pad. That's good enough. And and basically asked questions. He was frustrated with life, and typically he'd write letters to whoever he was frustrated with. And then he would, throw it away or whatever the heck. Like, that was just therapeutic for him. Well, one day life was not going real groovy, and he said, you know what? I'm a little mad at Mr. Creator. I'm a little mad at the big guy. I'm gonna write him a little note. Breaks out the yellow legal pad. Starts writing, dear God, I'm pretty unhappy for blah, 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 and I really wish that, and he basically goes to put the pen down, and he kind of picks it back up, and he's like, were you just venting, or did you want an answer? Well, I'd like an answer. Well, the reason that was happening in your life, and that's how it starts. That is exactly how it starts. That is it. I've done it a bunch of times. It's awesome. It's fun. It's amazing. And it will trip you out because it's like oddly, and you'll notice the differences. Like you're like, yeah, no, that's totally like higher. It's just weird. It's like, yeah, it's just a different, it's kind, it's honest, it's knowledgeable. It's very like a parental almost, but not quite. I don't know. It's weird. It's just a weird, like awesome energy. It's like you. It's you, but it's your higher self you. It's like the part of you that's like, all right, seriously, we need to get this going and get this done right. But it does it in such a loving way, like almost better than a parent, because parents get frustrated, very frustrated, right? It's not from a frustration standpoint. It's like it wants you to succeed, and no matter what, it's behind you going, okay, we got this. All right, almost one more step. Yes, right? Like it is celebrating every move with us. And that moment where you take that step and you're like, bling, and you're like, oh, text message. And your higher self's like, yes, but you got where you needed to get that text message. The text message wasn't the deal. The text message was the indication that you were where you're meant to go. What I'm trying to do is get you to go here. Keep going, step, right? And then suddenly, bling, text, I love you too, right? That's really how this game is played. We're trying to move through life. A lot of times we need something dangling carrot, they might say, right? A little shiny something to get us moving in that direction. Love is a powerful motivator. And relationships are awesome and they're wonderful and we learn a great number of things. So it works really well as a motivating aspect for our higher selves. Talk to your higher self. Have some conversations. Your higher self has no secrets from you, loves the conversation, loves the fact that you're creating that connection. And only good can really come from this. Practice with yourself because it's a lot easier. You know yourself better, first off. Second off, you're going to gain so much beneficial knowledge. This is a form of meditation unto itself. But talking to your higher self is an extremely powerful way to change your life, to ask questions, to get answers that you consider literally like the next day, like read and you're like, yeah, I mean, like that makes sense. Try it. Prove me wrong, I dare you. I truly do. This is one of those things where it's just like, I know it sounds crazy, right? Try it. The talking one's a lot harder. So if you're a talker, you know who you are. You know you're the talkers. You know who you are out there. I would start with writing. Writing's the easiest way to get going on this. I mean, that was probably where I started, frankly. And I'm a talker. The talking one took a little practice, frankly. But talking is great. You just don't remember a darn thing you say. If you're not recording it, if I'm not doing it on my phone, and I've got the program I use is called Dictadroid. Literally, it's like right on my front. I'd show you, but that's crazy. Why would I do that? But it's right on the front of the screen. Dictadroid. I turn it on. I record, and I probably got 10 of them in there right now. And I delete them out after a short period of time. It's just like there to remind me, or if I need to make notes and write it down. Again, I got notes all over the place. Stuff will hit you out of nowhere. It's awesome. So if you got questions about your significant person, questions about whatever, how can I make more money? How can I buy a boat? How can I get invited onto a yacht? How can I get invited to ringside seats at the next MMF fight? I don't know. That just came in, man. It was as good as I got. That's bad stream of consciousness because MMF, right? I'm sure it's there. They're kidding. It's a huge thing, but whatever. It's a way you can get there. It's an awesome way to get yourself practicing talking to your higher self. Hopefully that helps. So we came in with Queen, Don't Stop Me Now, which I don't even think I mentioned, or OMD, I'm sorry, Sailing on the Seas of Love, or Sailing 7 Seas. There you go, because I didn't actually write this down, so this is off memory now. We're going out with Queen, Don't Stop Me Now. That is the song, because now all of a sudden my brain's functioning properly. It's Dan Radio.